Hello everybody, it's me, Extra Normally, and today we're going to be doing a sketchbook tour. That's right, this is a sketchbook that I've been doing from, says right here, May to August 2024. So yeah, I guess I don't really have much else to say other than let's get into it. This is a master touch sketchbook, I believe. Yeah, I just bought it from Hobby Lobby, actually. But it's a Bristol paper, so it's incredibly thick paper, as you'll see as we get into it. So yeah, this is sort of the opening page. I wanted to just decorate it. This was all done after the fact. I got some little stickers here because I like the idea of it being a sketchbook, but also being kind of like a journal in a way. This is done in the landscape view, but this is just of a park. So yeah, pretty cool stuff. You'll see that I use mainly pen in this with some watercolor markers. This is a blank page because, you know, there's always got to be at least one blank page in a sketchbook. My girlfriend did this. You can see her name right here. She signed it. Also keep in mind that I number my pages just so I can keep track of how many pages I've done. This is also done by Kaylin. This is a trip that took to Pigeon Forge. Here's a little goosey, some rocks. This right here, we were just sitting on a little park bench. It looks god awful, and I couldn't draw the hand here correctly, so I just blacked it out, and I made my girlfriend look really ugly. Yeah. So here's some more stuff. This is my friend Dave. He's very cute, as you can tell from the from the picture. Dave also drew this little thing right here. He got the shadow very nicely. You can also see that I date everything just so I can look back and kind of tell when I did everything, but that also helps show the progress over time. This is of in a car. This right here is inside of a little fort that I went to with some friends. It's called Fort Pickens. And this was all done with just a brush pen, a Micron brush pen. I'm not the biggest fan of it because, as you can tell, it's very hard to sort of get very thin strokes, especially when you're standing up and it's 300 degrees outside. Here's of a place called Crab Island. It's a little sandbar. Very cool place. This right here is of a little ramen restaurant that we went to. And then starting here is when we got back from that trip. I really got into sort of just doing this little hatching thing, sort of to show the atmospheric perspective. So things that are closer are darker, and the further away they get, they are lighter. So that's sort of an exercise in that. I have a couple of sketches like that in this book. Starting here, I really like these two pages right here because I think they all came out very well, but this is some Cliffside stuff. A lot of references from Pinterest. If you frequent Pinterest, you might recognize some of these buildings. This sketch right here is of some power lines. I used an alcohol marker to do the coloring on here. I like the alcohol-based markers, but they just bleed through the page. You can sort of see how they bled through right here. Here's some like figure sketches. Not really happy with the proportions on them, but you know, they were very loose and very quick, so I guess I can forgive myself for those. I like this one right here just because, you know, like the mystery of a person turning away from your frame sort of is intriguing. So yeah, this one right here, I was trying to do a little bit of a hatching thing with the wires and such. I don't think it turned out the best, but you know, that's what a sketchbook is for, to attempt stuff. This is a sticker I got from Rock Island State Park, Tennessee. This was a little service thing that was there that I just thought looked really interesting. Here's more sketches, just sort of like showing like really hazy, foggy locations. Very fun stuff. This is of from Elden Ring, from the Shadow of the Erdtree DLC. I just thought that little vista looked really cool. I wanted to draw it. This right here, this is done completely from imagination. One of the few things in this that is done without a reference image. So I think I did a good job with that. Here's a little figure drawing that I did right here. I kind of sort of lightly sketched out the gesture with a very light marker behind, and then I went over it with pen, and then I colored it in. So I think I did that very well. I think the proportions on this line up very nicely, and it's got a very nice dynamic feel to it. Also drew a little samurai hat here from Ghost of Tsushima, I think. This right here is also a little place of a photo I took from Rock Island State Park. It's a little water spring house. It looked very neat, and I thought the shape of the thing really, it looked cool against the backdrop of the forest, and there are these little stairs that lead up to it. Here we just have some sketches from the video game Shadow of the Colossus because I was playing the game around this time. I was really kind of just trying to block out the colors with this. I don't think I did a very good job with this right here, so I attempted it again with just the watercolor markers, really trying to nail those values. And then we have a little landscape done like in landscape right here, a sketch of a bridge that's sort of moving back into the fog. Here we have some locations from The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. You can see Link right there. I sort of did a loose sketch, but this is of the Colosseum. If people are familiar with that game, this is the entrance to the Colosseum. This is from Gerudo, from the Gerudo Desert, whatever you want to say. This is Gerudo Town, because I really like those little rocks, and some of my fondest memories from that game are sort of exploring this desert. It's probably one of my favorite areas in the game just because of the music. Music's really good, and just I really like the deserty atmosphere. Here's two light pages. This is of a little, I really don't know what you would call it. It's sort of this balcony that's on the side of a wall. The perspective on it was very difficult to nail because you sort of have this like 3-point thing going where sort of it extends upwards and downwards as well, so your perspective line sort of shifts down the further down you get, so that was very difficult to nail. Here's a little figure sketch. I don't really like how thick the line is on the jaw here. I think it takes away emphasis from the pose, and there should have been more shadows around the arms here where they come into contact with the shirt. Here is a little, this is of my friend Ryan's. He has this creepy farm that's abandoned, and there's this creepy little shed there, and this is based on a photo that was taken in the pitch black of night, and I just thought that, you know, it looked really cool and mysterious, and I could do a lot with sort of the really dark shrubbery. Here's some more sketches. I did the same thing that I did for the previous sketches, where I sort of lined out the gesture with a lighter marker and then went over top with the pen and then colored it in afterwards. It's all right. You know, there was a lot that I could improve on, but, you know, for it being so quick, I'm happy, except with the hand right here. That looks really janky, so I apologize for that. This here was done with a fountain pen, a very, very cheap fountain pen, I would like to add, so it had very terrible ink flow. But it was very loose, and I was really just trying to focus on the perspective of all of it. And I think I did a pretty good job with it. I think I did a decent enough job with, you know, going over with the marker afterwards, sort of highlighting this light up here, the focal point being the bench, you know, that's very cool. This right here is just a little lake reservoir filtration platform, I guess. I sat out in the summer heat sketching this, so this was a live sketch. I just sat on the grass and I had ants crawl all over me. Here is a portrait captured from Pinterest, just of a little sailor man, and I think I did a really good job with this one. I'm very proud of this sketch right here because of the textures of the beard, the shadows on the face. You know, you have the shadows of the collar here, and you can kind of get a glimpse of the soft texture of the sweater that he's wearing. I really like it. Here's another tower that I drew. Fun stuff. I really like drawing buildings, and I really like fog. Fog is very fun to like sort of insinuate in your drawings, so you know, I like doing this little hatching thing. Here's a little creature, stone creature from Spirited Away, for those who recognize that film. Here's me holding a little watering pot that broke, unfortunately. That's why it only has one thing for the handle here. It snapped, and I wanted to memorialize it in the notebook, so I drew a little photo of me holding it. Here's the same spring house from earlier, just a bit closer up. I was playing around with the hatching for the individual bricks. I think it turned out a little too dark. My values could be a bit tighter, but you know. Here is a sketch that I did while at the pool, at a public pool. The perspective on it is very messed up. Like, this right here is supposed to be further away from this right here, yet it comes down further in the picture, so that implies that it's closer, even though it wasn't, you know, issues with that. Here's some more loose sketches. I'm not very happy with these right here. I just don't think the proportions of like the eyes and the mouth work well, but I think I did a decent enough job with the hand, which is something. Here's another thing from Pinterest with the Lord Huron lyric, obviously. Just thought that looked really cool. I don't know if this is like an AI generated image that I drew from, because this is kind of an impossible structure. It's fantastical though. Here's some more portraits. This one's a full figure drawing. I don't really like the shoes on it, or the face for that matter. I'm still working on faces a lot. Of course, with some more Lord Huron lyrics, because I cannot listen to anything else. Here I was trying to do that atmospheric perspective thing with just denser foliage, I guess. I'm not really, I don't really like this all that much, but it was an attempt, and now I know what not to do. This is a photo of Adrian Brody with some Radiohead lyrics above him from the song Full Stop. Here I was just playing around with sort of layering around markers to sort of build up a black background without just doing just a black fill. And the faces here are a little lame, but you know, this is like the littlest bit of color that you'll get throughout this entire sketchbook. Here I have just, one night I just got really bored and I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna draw a ton of people on these 2 pages. And here they are. Some of them are messed up, like she has frog eyes. Did not mean to do that. Some of them I feel like I did a decent enough job. Like I like the nose on this guy. I like the mouth on this guy. How you can see his bottom jaw, the bottom row of teeth. I think I did the shape of this head very well. I tried to keep the lines very, very simple, you know, just like doing some hatching to show that the hair is behind her head. Here we have some more stuff from Pinterest. I was copying this one artist who I cannot remember the name of, but they were drawing the eyes of this one girl, and I thought it looked really good, so I was just trying to do a little bit of a study of that, sort of like how the eye falls behind the nose when you're at certain angles. And this is a drawing of my girlfriend. Not very flattering. She's prettier in real life. Here's some more portraits. Just playing around with sort of, you know, like really honing in my lines, you know, trying to do a decent enough job conveying the facial features without just going crazy on hatching. Even though at the end I kind of did go a little bit crazy on the hatching, so I apologize. This portrait right here I enjoy a lot. I did this thing where I sort of outlined the shadows on his face with these lines, which I think give it a very fun quality. I want to explore that more in the future. Here's a little altercation between Raiden from Metal Gear Solid and Joel from The Last of Us. They're best friends. And this is the Raiden actually is a judge in this universe where both him and Joel they're sort of the captains, co-captains of a mecha unit called Uber Mecha. In an Uber Mecha, they have a court system within the organization, and they're wanting to essentially sue Raiden, more or less. But when they get there, it turns out that Raiden is also the judge of this place. He's sort of a dictator within Uber Mecha. So, you know, just a little funny thing right here. For these two sketches right here, I was really trying to do that dense foliage thing, because it's very hard when you have a scene that is just, you know, leaves and trees and such. So I was really trying to like find a good way to differentiate the foreground, midground, and background. I did not do a good job with this right here. It's kind of an incoherent mess. But for this one right here, you can tell that it's sort of this tree that's sticking up out of the water. I really like the dark shadow here, the fill here. So I like this sketch right here. Here's some just quicker sketches. They were a bit looser. You know, this one right here is of a tower. This one is of a temple. This one is, you know, of another tower. What the scallop? Here is when I got my hand on a little blue pen, and I sort of just was playing around with doing different levels of hatching, you know, sort of like different directions, you know, creating a contrast there. This is from a piece of artwork from Pinterest. I don't remember the artist, so I apologize for that. That's from Shadow the Colossus. Here, this was a photograph I took of my own hand, and I drew it sort of like I held my hand out, and then I drew just the tips of my fingers, and I layered like a plane that intersects them, so it looks like the hand is like resting in water. That was very difficult to do, to figure out where the lines are, but like I like the imagery of that. Here's another portrait of a fella. I think I got the proportions of him pretty good, pretty decent. Also, this was done without an underlying sketch, so it was entirely freehand, I guess you could say. So that was very difficult. You have to pay quite a decent amount of attention. Some more sketches, some of them good, some of them bad. I was kind of just messing around with the blue pen. Like these. I don't really like any of these. Here's some more that are done freehand. You can sort of see my underlying like figure sketch, you know, like with the line right there on the leg. But these were very fun to do, especially this guy. This guy was very fun to draw. This is a photograph that I drew of a restaurant. You can kind of tell that the roof ends there. These are some trees behind there. I should have just left the background sort of plain white to emphasize the building here. But I was really trying to nail all those different angles and the bits and bobs, the greebling of the surface. And here we have some more sketches of just faces up close. I really like this one. I was really messing around with that shadow concept of outlining the shadow and filling it in. And this was all done freehand as well. And I think I did a really good job sort of getting all the lines looking pretty clean. One thing I will say though is like the arm feels way too short. That's just a personal observation. And then once we get to this page right here, I got the Lamy Safari pen. It's a fountain pen, it's a very generic fountain pen, but it's pretty reliable from all the research that I did. So this was sort of my first sketch with that. It's just like a little bridge crossing over a body of water with shrubbery all around it. Very fun pen, and I use it a lot in my current sketchbook. That's of some sunglasses. Here's a little crane thing that I was in a parking lot and I drew. This is the top of it where it extends off the page. A lamp. And, you know, I was really playing around with these two, sort of having the very dark foreground, you know, creating those interesting silhouettes that almost like frame a scene in the background in the distance. So I was playing around with that. These are images found online. Here we have just a little archway of some cobbled stone that's decayed over time. This is just of a woman. Here's it's a dude just walking through the forest. I drew the dude separately, and then I went in, and all the background stuff is kind of just thrown in from imagination. The reason I did the whole background and not just the guy is because his leg right here was way too short. So compared to this leg right here, so I was like, oh, I need to throw in some more stuff so it doesn't look so bad. So all the detail here sort of overshadows this little mistake with the foot right here. This is a photograph of me looking down at my phone. This is of a restaurant right here that I went to, and I was just sitting there with my fountain pen, and I was bored, so I sketched it. This is of a big moth that found at the park, and it was so gigantic I had to get a picture of it, and I just got bored so I drew it. This is of a dude in a suit. Sort of, you can see the underlying sketch that I did with a very light marker. I think I did a good job with the hands. The only thing I will say is his head feels a bit too small compared to the rest of his body, but other than that, this is done with a fountain pen at Zaxby's, the iconic Zaxby's plate and cup. This was done freehand, so no underlying sketch. This is of my girlfriend. Isn't she so pretty? As this says right here, it's a thick cluster of leaved vines on a tree. Very hard to tell. Very, very hard to tell. I'm still working on doing dense foliage, so you can sort of like see a bit where that tree trunk is, but you know, it's completely washed out with detail, so I need to work on stuff like that. This is just of a clock tower that's sort of kicked in shadow. That's what that's supposed to be right there. This is just a picture of a corner of a room that I took in this mansion that I was touring, and I thought the angles of it were very cool because you have this like wall that slants this way with a window, this curved window, and it also like goes this way, and the roof, it's a normal ceiling, but it has depth to it because of these beams right here. So that was very fun to sketch. So this is all done freehand with a fountain pen. Same for this right here. I really wanted to emphasize the light coming out of these windows in the distance and the depth of it with the shadows. This right here, the sketch, I'm not too happy with because the top of the front of the hat doesn't really match up well with the forehead there, so it like gives this elongated crystal skull, Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull cranium thing going on. We have a little sketch right here of just a woman swinging a bat. Pretty fun. This is of a little sewer grate. I wanted to play around with having these like black grate bars, but whenever they intersect the hole in it, I wanted to emphasize that these bars were sort of like rounded, but I also didn't want the hole to get lost in this grid of bars, so I sort of reversed the color there. I like this sketch a bit just because of the shadows covering this guy's face. It's very messy with the beard and everything, but I think it's all right. This is done with a fountain pen. It's just a very quick sketch. I can't really say much about it. This right here, I was really trying to emphasize the trees against the dark overgrowth, the canopy of trees behind it, and into the distance you have you can see the tree trunks sort of like breaking up the sky behind it in little pockets. It was a decent attempt. I don't think it's the best, but it's at least visually interesting with these like trees that are pure white. These are just more sketches that I was doing freehand. This one I quite enjoy a lot. It was all done freehand, but I have that brush micron that I was talking about beforehand. I found a use for it, and you can really do sort of this like tangling black hair with it, and it gives it a very striking appearance. So I was playing around with that. That's directly inspired by Takehiko Inoue from Vagabond, because he does a similar thing with his hair, so I was kind of trying to emulate that. That's just a photograph of me that's done freehand, which is a little bit sloppy. I did it again with a pencil, an underlying pencil sketch right here because I was so dissatisfied with this one. Right here. This is my friend Jake. This is my friend Ryan. They don't look too good, but that's not because of them. It's because of me. This is a sketch of a picture of me from like 2 or 3 years ago. This is a photograph that I took of myself, sort of like with the lamp illuminating me in my kitchen with sort of just the lights turned off. It looks a little janky because of the head proportions aren't entirely correct, but it was all done freehand, so I'll give myself some credit there. Here we have more of that sort of atmospheric perspective thing going on. I layered a bunch of this, like main tower right here was done with reference, but then I added this using imagination and the towers behind it using imagination. Lord Huron lyrics, of course. This is my friend Dave. This was a very quick sketch, so it looks a little janky. This sketch right here was done with a fountain pen. It's a photograph of a dude I took while in the line at Starbucks getting coffee. So I thought the shadow of the tree sort of caking this dude who was just chilling underneath it was a very cool image. So, you know, I wanted to immortalize that here. This is of a little bike trail path. Again, I really wanted to emphasize the light coming across right here. That contrasted with the shadow from the trees and the grass. So that was very fun to play around with. This is just of a sign, a photograph of a sign that I took while walking. This is just a dude. Nothing much more to say about that. He's just a guy. This sketch right here was done freehand, I believe, and I just wanted to play around with these like very chunky, sort of shapely shadows. I think I could have done a better job with the proportions and maybe adding some more shadows, but for the most part, it's all right. This is a freehand sketch of, it looks like Willem Dafoe. I don't think the photograph was of Willem Dafoe. And then, yeah, we'll get this out of the way for now. This is the final page of the sketchbook. I just took a photograph of myself and I drew it as best I could, sort of as a of how I looked at the time, because I thought that would be more interesting than just like taking a picture of myself and putting it in here. But you know, I can always look back on this sketchbook and be like, oh, this was me. This was me then. And I was playing around with my watercolor markers, sort of layering up the shadows and the, you know, like the folds in my skin and everything. And, you know, I think it looks decent enough, even if I am a bit ugly. And this is the final page of the sketchbook, or I guess the back of it, where I just kind of, you know, I put some stickers in there that I purchased, and, you know, I didn't want it to be blank. This right here is just a small comic that I purchased from a comic shop. I thought the art in it was very good, very unique. I really like the paneling on it. So yeah, by Julia Grorer. I don't know how to pronounce that, but very cool stuff, and I'm always going to keep this in here because, you know, I think, you know, that sort of encapsulates the journalistic aspect of it. So yeah, that was from my May to August 2024 sketchbook. I had a lot of fun filling this thing out. I have another sketchbook. It's not the same one. It's a Moleskine sketchbook. I just wanted to play around with different sketchbooks. So yeah, thank you for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed it. And
subscribe and leave a comment on what you would like to see next. Goodbye.